Hey YouTube, it's Guy, and I am back with my first video of the year, and as you can tell by what's sitting on the table, it's going to be a Seiko watch review. Today I want to take a look at my Seiko Sarb033, that's S-A-R-B-033. This is a watch that if you saw my last video that I did, it was talking about my current 3-watch rotation. That's the 3 watches that get the most wrist time out of my collection, presently anyway. This was one of those watches. It doesn't get the lion's share of wrist time in my collection, but for those occasions where I need something a little dressier or a little nicer looking, this is my go-to watch. So, without any further ado, we'll get into it. It comes in this white cardboard box, at least mine did, nothing special. And pop that open, and inside is a gray Seiko box and a couple of little paper items, manuals. I missed one. First of all, you're going to have your not international, sorry, your Japanese domestic market warranty card. So this is a JDM watch, and the warranty is only good in Japan unless you get a warranty from your retailer or third-party seller. But it's cool to have that little, I guess, piece of paper with your watch, and then also you get your instruction manual. The bulk of the manual, first several pages, are all going to be in Japanese, which, unless you read Japanese, like I do not, is totally useless. But I believe there is also an English section further in to the manual. It's not a complicated watch by any stretch of the imagination, though, so I don't know if you're really going to need that. But that's what came with mine. I expect that's what you will get with yours inside the white outer slip sleeve box. Like I said, inside we got this gray Seiko box, and when we pop that open, we can see the watch itself is, sitting on its pillow. Yeah, I want to make a note about these boxes and these pillows that you get from Seiko. Have you ever gotten a watch from anyone, be it Amazon or Juma or anybody, where the watch hadn't, during shipping, fallen off the pillow and was just all disheveled, and you know what I mean? Like, I guess the point I'm trying to make is maybe they should come up with a better system for protecting these watches during transit, because this whole pillow thing is not really what it's cracked up to be. I got a couple of links taken out of my watch, so it's on there pretty snugly, but when the bracelet is still full size, it pops right off. So yeah, we'll take that off the pillow. Inside the box, I have my spare links. If you saw a video, well, even if you didn't see it, if you get this watch, you should watch. I did a video on how to resize the links on this watch because it uses Seiko's pin and collar system. Go ahead and watch that video if you haven't, and you are planning to or have recently gotten this watch and don't know how to resize it. I explain everything in great detail. But also, with your watch, you'll just get this little hang tag. This is what you're going to see if you were to go to like a store or a boutique in Japan. You're going to see this little hang tag. It's got the price in yen on there, 45,000 yen, the model number SARB033. On the back side, we're going to have just a basic barcode and some information in Japanese, including what we can see is caliber 6R15. And I assume the plus 25 hyphen minus 15 is advertising the accuracy of the 6R15 caliber movement, which we'll discuss a little bit later. So that's everything as far as the box is concerned, and what we really care about is the watch itself. So we'll get that out of the way and talk about this Seiko SARB or Sarb033. First of all, it does come in another model, the Sarb035, and the only differences that I'm aware of between the two is the color of the dial. That one has that one has a white dial, this one has a black dial, but otherwise they're exactly the same, so this review probably would be applicable to either or. But anyway, some basic features about the Sarb033. This is Seiko's 23 jewel 6R15 movement, as previously stated. It's an automatic movement, but it's also hand winding, and it does have hacking. So when we pull the crown out to the second position to set the time, the movement stops, the second hand stops moving, and we can very accurately set the time to whatever we want to, sync it up to a website or our cell phone or whatever. This has an advertised 50-hour power reserve. I haven't actually tested that because I just don't wear it frequently enough for it to matter. For me, it's not an issue. It's never died on my wrist, and that's all that's important. But advertised is a 50-hour power reserve, and my experience with Seiko watches is that the power reserves have always met or exceeded their advertised power reserves. And again, like I said when we looked at the hang tag, it does have an advertised accuracy of between plus 25 seconds per day to as slow as minus 15 seconds per day. My particular example here runs a little fast, 6, maybe 7 seconds fast per day, on the handful of times, 2 or maybe 3 times that I've really paid attention to it over the course of 24 hours. So well within specs, and no complaints on the accuracy of this particular example. I suppose if it was running at the upper ends of the 25 seconds per day fast, I'd be a little disappointed in any watch that was that fast, but it's sort of rolling the dice whenever we buy these less expensive chronometer certified watches. You just get what you get. That said, it can be regulated to be much more accurately, and my understanding is that people have gotten very, very good accuracy out of the 6R15 movement after regulating it themselves or taking it to a watchmaker to have it regulated. The dial on this watch is this nice black. It's kind of got a little bit of a glossy finish dial. Now, people I have seen say that when they get it out in very bright sunlight, they think that the dial looks almost like a deep chocolate brown to them. I never get that. I don't know. Maybe my eyes are not that good. I got some fingerprints on here and just get that cleaned up a bit. But yeah, I've never noticed it looking brown under any light to me. It always just looks black to me. But your mileage may vary. I don't know. Lots of people have stated that it does have that sort of, brown hue in very bright, direct sunlight. The black dial features these, I don't know what you would call them, I guess baton markers or indices for the hours. And on the inside track, there is a little pip of LumiBrite. So it does those little tiny pips on the inside of the hour markers does glow in the dark. The sword style hands also have LumiBrite on them. If you can see, there's this little triangle on the inside of the hands that's filled with the glow-in-the-dark material, Seiko's proprietary LumiBrite. Overall, I wish that there wasn't any lume on this watch. I think it would just, look a little more classy and a little more refined without it. But it's not so there's not so much of it that it gets kind of in the way of the design or anything, so it's fine. I just prefer it without, honestly. I just don't need it on my dress watches. But that's just me. There is a date window at the 3 o'clock position on this watch, and it's got a nice outline to it. It's very legible. It's recessed not so deeply as to be difficult to see or have a shadow cast, but enough to where it just comes together really well. The dial is protected by a sapphire crystal, and it is, very scratch resistant. I have picked up a few scratches on the case already, but the sapphire crystal protecting the dial has been flawless. I'm pretty careful with my watches, but like I said, the case has picked up a couple little micro scratches, but the crystal has been perfect, so that's good news. Another thing to mention about the dial is the chapter ring has these very fine little hash mark indexes for the seconds. I guess it breaks down to like 1/5 of a second for each little hash mark. And, I don't know if that's necessary for a dress watch like this, which maybe most people classify this as a dress watch and not a sports watch, I suppose. But I kind of like it. It adds a little interest to the design. I like kind of busy watches, though, so anything to add little features like that, I'm good with it. It does seem that they're not exactly lined up, printed on there perfectly. I don't know if I can get a nice focus here, nice and close. Maybe it's just me. I don't know. I think it's off. ever so slightly in the printing of those little tiny indices or hash marks. Maybe in some spots more than others. Like on the 3 o'clock side, they look actually pretty accurate. But on the opposite side, they seem to be off ever so slightly. I don't know if anyone else can notice that or not, but to me it looks like they're off slightly. It doesn't matter. Like when I'm not zoomed in on a camera like that, I can't tell. It's too small to really pick it up, but I notice it when I'm zoomed in like that, or if I have a magnifying glass or something, that the printing on those indices on the chapter ring are just off slightly. Other than that, though, everything else seems to line up perfectly, so I got no problems with it. So yeah, we talked about the sapphire crystal. The case itself is mostly a brushed stainless steel. It's a combination of brushing and polishing. The bezel here is nice and polished, all around the face, but the lugs have a nice brushing, and then below the lugs is kind of polished here. And all the polished parts pick up fingerprints like mad. So if you're anal about like fingerprints and stuff, which I kind of am, you're gonna be sitting here like with your little cloth, like rubbing fingerprints off of it all day long. But yeah, so we got like this nice brushed area, and then you can kind of see there's a bevel, and then up on the lugs we have I'm sorry, did I say this was brushed? This is polished, and then this little bevel, and then up on the lugs is brushed, and then another kind of bevel here, and then the bezel is polished. The back is all mostly polished, but the presentation and the finishing comes off looking really, really good. I mean, it definitely, I don't know, punches above its class as far as finishing. I mean, it looks like more of a luxury watch than it really is. I mean, if luxury watches are defined by their price point anyway. This price point on this is around $350 as of right now, which is early 2017, January 2017. Prices always fluctuate, of course, so who knows what it'll be 6 months or 6 years from now. But the moral of the story is you're getting a whole heck of a lot of watch for that price when it comes to the fit and finish. It looks great. Does it look like a grand Seiko? Yeah, probably not, but does it look like the Brights, maybe? The $750, $800 Seiko? I mean, also probably not, but it's a heck of a lot closer. And like I said, I just think you're getting a lot of watch for the money here at $300 to $350, just based on the fit and finish alone. It's a very handsome watch. The crown does have, it's signed with the Seiko S. A lot of people like that feature, like when people talk about like doing their reviews and they're like, oh, the crown's plain, there's nothing on it. I don't know, I don't care either way. Like, it's not like I wish I didn't have the S on the crown, but I wouldn't miss it if it wasn't there. But just so you know, it does have the S on the crown there. The crown itself is not screw down, but since it is hand winding, you can rotate it clockwise. It's got a nice, smooth, ratcheting feel as you wind it. You can feel the resistance of the movement, and that is what it is, nothing special. You pull it out to the first position and you can change the date. So you pull it out to the first position and wind it, counterclockwise. And it'll flip the date, 4th, 5th, and so on. And when you pull it out to the second position, it hacks the movement. And you can see that the second hand stopped moving. And you can go ahead and set the time. It's very smooth. Feels excellent. One of the best, smoothest feeling actions as far as, when you're rotating the hands to set the time. Push it back in to the all the way seated position and the movement starts back up. The back of the case, we talked about the front having sapphire crystal. The back of the case does have an exhibition window. I think it's sapphire, but I'm not 100% sure. So don't quote me on that. It might just be a mineral crystal or something. But exhibition window, which does show off the 6R15 movement. You can see on the rotor there on the left-hand side, it says 6R15C. I don't know exactly when the C movement or generation came into effect, but that is currently what they put in there. I have heard some things about, and this applies to the 7S26C, it applies to the 6R15C, and I guess that also the other middle middle movement or caliber or whatever, which is the 4R36 or something like that. Anyway, I've heard that there is some issues. People have some complaints about this C movement in particular having like weird anomalies as far as its timekeeping functionality, having to do with that wheel maybe. I'm not exactly sure. I'm not super educated on it, but I've read a number of threads on the internet that suggest that there might be some sort of issue with the design of some parts in this C movement. I don't know if it's true or not. I'm not saying don't go buy this watch because it's got some sort of design flaw. It's not what I'm saying at all. Mine's been perfect. All of my Seiko watches have been just fine. But there has been a number of threads on the internet about it, so you might want to do some research about it if you care. I don't think it is much of an issue. Like I said, mine have all been perfectly fine. But I thought I would add that in there, pertinent information, possibly. When you put your watch, I guess when you put your watch on a time grapher, which is a little device that reads the beat and tells, if it's fast or slow or whatever, there's a setting called amplitude, if I'm not mistaken. And that spits back a number, between 200 or 300, somewhere in that range. And you want it to be at a certain number. And if it runs a little low, that's undesirable. And people are saying that their watches' amplitudes are running lower than should be expected, and it's an issue with something to do with this C generation of movement. Again, no problems with any of mine, but I have read complaints about that on the internet, so it's a consideration. The screw-on case back with exhibition window is a feature for this watch, and it is also 100 meter water resist rated. I'm never going to find out if it's water resistance because I have no intentions of getting this watch wet. I typically won't get any watch wet that doesn't have a screw-in crown. That's just me. They say that it should be fine, and I guess I would take their word for it, but I just have no reason to get this thing wet other than maybe the slightest of splashing when I'm washing my hands or something. Maybe if I get stuck in the rain, but I'm not going to go swimming with it. But if you do, allegedly 100 meter water resist, I say, swim at your own risk. The last thing to really talk about, specs-wise on this watch is the bracelet. And we have this stainless steel bracelet, which has a push-button deployment clasp. So that picks up all sorts of little scuffs and fingerprints and everything else for me. But basically, so you have these two little push buttons on the side, and then the clasp just folds open. Not the best watch band, I guess. Honestly, it's not the best clasp, if I had any complaint about it. And a lot of people complain about the band. I think the band, or the bracelet, is fine. The links are nice and solid. The end links are solid. It doesn't make a lot of noise or clinking. The ends are polished, and the faces of the links have a very attractive brushed finish. It's just this clasp. So number one, you can see there's this big gap right here. So when it's on your wrist, that could get caught on any number of things. It doesn't sit sort of recessed down. That's one issue. It's not a huge issue. I don't really have a problem with it. Number two, though, and the bigger issue for me, is it only has 2 micro adjustment holes. Let's see if I can get the camera to focus on that. So yeah, just behind the push button, we have 1-2 holes. Most watches are going to have 3 or 4 holes because it's going to have a longer clasp. It's not going to have this very small clasp. I prefer that immensely because it's difficult to get a nice good fit with just the 2 holes. So yeah, that's the bigger negative of this band for me. It's just the 2 micro adjustment holes. As far as the rest of the band, or the bracelet, if you will, I don't have any complaints with it, except for the difficulty in resizing it. And again, I made a video on how to resize the bracelet on this. It uses what's called Seiko's pin and collar system. I'm not going to get into too much detail on that because I made a very long, very thorough video on how to deal with that. But needless to say, if you just bought this watch, or if you're thinking of buying this watch, go into my library of videos and look at the how to resize your Seiko pin and collar bracelet. You're gonna probably need it. It's difficult. So yeah, that's kind of besides the micro adjustment holes, you know, the other negative is it's difficult to resize when you don't know what you're doing the first time. I've done it several times now and it's not an issue. So, you know, that is what it is. Overall, though, I do actually like the bracelet. It's comfortable. It's nice looking. And again, you know, a lot of people complain about the bracelet, but really what they're complaining about is this clasp, I think. It's just not, it's not awesome. Now, I don't know what the parts are called here. This little fold open section here, the elbow, this joint, this is actually very well made. I mean, it's nice steel, it's sturdy, it's not like cheap stamp steel or anything. It's probably CNC machined if I'm gonna guess. So I like this. This is very robust. It would just be nice if this clasp sat down. Maybe if it also had a fold over, you know, the little, on some clasps they have the little fold over. I would prefer that as well to just the push button locking mechanism. It's never fallen off my wrist, so it's probably not an issue, but it would just be a little step above if it had a better clasp on it, in my opinion. But otherwise, you know, it's quite good. Again, the end links are solid end links, and it's not cheap feeling or rattly or squeaky or anything like that. So yeah, I mean, you know, that's basically all of the quote-unquote specs, or the, you know, the important information that you might need about this watch. My general opinions on it, which are probably evident based on the review thus far, is that I like it quite a bit. As I said, it's my you know, my special occasion watch, be it if I'm going to a wedding or a business meeting or whatever. This is my go-to watch for those scenarios. Keeps good time. It's extremely attractive in my opinion. I mean, you can't beat it for the $350 or thereabouts that you're going to be able to pick it up for. So yeah, not a whole lot else I could say about it. If you're looking to buy this watch, I'll put the link down to Amazon, and you know, you can click on that link. That is actually my Amazon associate account. So what it does is if you purchase that, I get, you know, I don't know what it is, 4%, 5% of the sale as a commission. So it helps me out, and if you're going to buy it anyway, you know, go ahead and think about doing that. Click on the link in the description of the video down below. Otherwise, it would also help me out if you like and share this video, and if you have any questions or comments, go ahead and post them below. And, you know, finally, if you haven't subscribed to my YouTube channel yet, go ahead and do that. I'll have several more watch reviews coming out in the coming weeks, and a number of reviews on other things that I'm going to be doing, including everyday carry items like, you know, pocket knives, pocket carryable flashlights, and concealed carry firearms, you know, all sorts of stuff. So the channel is going to continue to grow. More and more content and different content is coming. So go ahead and subscribe and come along for the ride. All right, guys, thanks again for tuning in, and I hope you have a happy new year, and we'll see you again soon. Thank you. Bye.